Welcome to Nevertheless Podcast with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you would learn how to discover your essence and live more powerfully.
Hi, welcome to Nevertheless, a show for organic leaders and for leader perennials. This is the fourth episode in this series where we're just fielding questions from Bethel, my sister here. And the first episode, we looked at harnessing relationships for success. The second episode, we looked at the expression, walking your seasons, and reviewed what it meant to walk our seasons. In the third episode, we look at rest, at the posture of the spirit. And this episode, we are going to be looking at what?
We're looking at contentment and how it's connected to building wealth.
I mean, when you think about last month, we just looked at the principle of enoughness. And here she's saying, let's talk about contentment. Why do you want to talk about contentment? What triggered contentment in your heart?
So for me, I was looking at how we can put contentment and wealth in the same sentence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes it seems, contradictory in how it plays out practically, So to be able to build wealth. So the phrase you used, the statement you used was, yes, this was at the conference we had, so this was a statement you used. You said, be content. It is how you build wealth. So I really want you to unpack that, what that means practically. So,
Okay, so
yes.
Many years ago, I think this would be about 12 years ago,
Okay.
I was at a place where I was consistently short, money-wise. My money was consistently short. And I don't know about other people, but the way I run my life is anything that isn't together in my life, I talk to God about it first.
Beautiful.
So it was in the place of talking to God about the fact that I'm consistently short when it comes to money. That God said those words to me. He said to me, Bidemi, learn contentment.
Wow.
He says, if you learn contentment, you'll be wealthy.
Wow.
And of course, I didn't know what it meant.
Wow.
So that took me into about a couple of years of just sitting with him for him to teach me what contentment looked like. Because in my head, when he said it, I thought that contentment was the same thing as a lack of ambition. But one of the first things that he taught me...
That's what we think it is.
First things that he taught me was that contentment was not the same as a lack of ambition. You can be ambitious, you can dream, have big dreams and want to achieve great things, but make sure you are content. Contentment in its core is to be satisfied with what God has given to you in the moment while you wait for him to give you more for your future.
Wow.
And then it turned out that in that time, all my complaints about not having enough money were not because I was exactly hungry. It wasn't because there were basic things that I needed to do that I couldn't do. It was because I wanted to be like the Joneses. I wanted to have everything at the same time. I wanted to have 3 cars so that on any given day I can jump into one.
Anyone.
It didn't matter whether I didn't have the capacity to maintain and keep 3 cars.
Wow.
I just wanted to own 3 cars. So in that place, God started to teach me that contentment, the scripture says that godliness with contentment is great gain. So he started to say to me, if you learn to be content, then you will be patient enough for me to work out wealth with you. Part of contentment and building wealth is a person who is content would understand delayed gratification.
Very important.
Which was why I didn't need 3 cars. So why was my desires? Why was I so desirous of 3 cars? I was desirous of 3 cars because I had a friend who had 3 cars. And, once, if she came to me 3 times in 1 week, she would come with a different car. It felt like she was living life and it felt like I was existing. So I thought that my problems would be over if I just had 3 cars.
Wow.
Forgetting that 3 cars mean fueling 3 ways.
Wow.
Forgetting that 3 cars means dealing with mechanics 3 ways. And all of that, and all of that, and all of that.
Wow.
So God sat me down and started to say to me, you don't cut your coat according to your size, which is what we always say.
Okay.
You cut your coat according to your cloth. But we go around saying, cut your coat according to your size. If you are an honorable and you have 1 yard,
still,
what will 1 yard do for an honorable?
Wow.
So you don't make your coat according to your size. You make it according to your cloth, which means that if you are a big person or a plus size person and you have 2 yards, then perhaps your best bet will be to do a waistcoat. Don't try to do a boo-boo with it. Because what is available should determine what you want to do or what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And even that has become a pillar for me in running my life, my home, my work, my business, and the ministry. Godliness with contentment is great gain. Bidemi, learn contentment.
Wow.
So the way I see it, if I cannot pay for it and have that exact amount left, I should not buy it in many cases.
Okay. Okay.
Because in that time I was living and spending. I was making and spending. I was making and spending. At the end before the month is over, I'm still run out.
Wow.
Now, when God told me that and I started to let him teach me, here's something else I found out. God did not immediately increase my earning.
Oh, okay. Now that one is...
He did. You think that, when God says it and you say, okay, yes, sir, teach me.
Yes.
He would increase your earning. No, he
did
not increase my earning for a long time.
Wow.
But he taught me to steward what I had. He showed me that I didn't need 2 phones that had WhatsApp in both of them.
Wow.
Because whether you like it or not, the phones have the same contacts. Both phones have the same contacts. Why should you be able to send me WhatsApp on my MTN and send me WhatsApp on my 9 mobile? Meanwhile, WhatsApp is not free. So for me to get the data, I have to subscribe both ways.
Wow.
That was 1.5 wasted in that time.
Wow.
That I should have plowed into something else. So God was saying to me that it's not that you don't have enough.
Yeah.
It is that you don't know how to do with your enough.
Wow.
So you are spending it in places that you ought not to expend it.
Wow.
So when you now chance upon the place where you ought to have it, you have spent it already on what you did not need to spend it on.
Wow.
And the only reason why you do that is because you are not content. Wow. So someone has Brazilian hair. It's 28 inches. You don't even like long hair. But you buy 28 inches anyway because they cannot leave you behind.
Yeah.
And then now, your 28-inch Brazilian hair is always tied up in a bun. Why didn't you just buy 14 inches?
So that you can...
because you don't like long hair. You sweat. Once it touches you, you are irritable. Why did you buy 28 inches?
Wow.
Because Ngozi bought 28 inches. Nothing else. So God started to say to me,
wow,
I am not able to give you more money until you have mastered contentment.
Wow. Wow. So you're saying a lack of contentment also leads to waste. And God doesn't like waste.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because when you're not content, you find yourself jumping in all kinds of things. Wherever they are going, you want to follow them, whether it is convenient for you or not, whether you should be doing it in this time or you should not be doing it. I stretched that particular learning to every aspect of my life. And I started to find out that the thing I want in the moment, that if Jesus was not Lord of my life, I would kill for. 3 weeks later, ask me and I don't even like it. Think about it carefully. How many dresses have you bought? That 2 weeks later, you look at it and you're like, what is this doing in my wardrobe? I don't even like the color.
Wow.
But you bought it under the blue light in the shop. Because it looks really nice.
Under the blue light.
And you clearly go outside. What is this?
Wow.
So one of the practical things I did in learning contentment was that I got to that place where you will show it to me and say, let me think about it. And 80% of the time, after thinking about it, there was no need for it. Godliness with contentment is great gain. God is not saying, do not be ambitious.
Okay.
God is saying, is your ambition parametered by purpose? I'm ambitious. I want to do those things. I want to do, my mate built 4 flats. I want to build 8 flats. Is it in your DNA to build 8 flats? You may even have the money to build 8 flats. Did God send you to build 8 flats? Or is this just so that you can say, I built, my flats are more than Abraham's flats. That's why you built it. Motive. Because when you begin to check or begin to try to look at what contentment entails, you will now begin to question your own motive. Now, this is easy to teach people. But imagine me, because I walked that path with God for 2 solid years before I saw a shift like this, tiny shift in my earning. Because, I've talked about just looking at it and recognizing that I can be ambitious. I've talked about motive. The third thing is that I had to submit what I had now to God for him to tell me what to do with what I have. And I found out that the moment I let him be the one, I was doing more with what I had than I would have done by myself the way I was going. Because now I have to put pen to paper. I learned to budget. Okay, this month, what are we doing? And then at the end of the day, I found out that there was no month that I didn't have left over. Here was me that my money would finish at exactly 2.5 weeks. And then maybe 1.5 weeks is super week. We'll be joking in my house, me and my husband will say, Chief Owu is in town. But eventually we found out that Chief Owu was not in town. We were the ones that were not stewarding what we had received properly. So for many years we prayed, oh Lord, increase our earnings. And God said, you have to show me what you're doing with what you are doing. You ought to have right now. So once upon a time, people can say to you that I'm owing them. This upon a time, nobody will tell you that I'm owing them. Because I'm not owing them. I had to learn contentment. If I can afford it, I will buy it. If I cannot afford it, you can sell it from today till November 2025. I will not buy.
Wow. I want to ask a second question. So this one is around, that perhaps is a decision that is not self-generated. It's not generated by your personal ambition. You sense it is God asking you to do something that looks very big. In fact, that looks bigger than the cloth you think God gave you. You're saying, this is big, and it's possible God has tested you. You have possibly stewarded what He had asked you to do over time, and then you sense that He's moving you from. It feels to you that He's moving you from kindergarten to primary school to perhaps even secondary school. That's how it feels like. It's something big. It's something that will stretch you. It's something. Are there times like that where it seems it looks like this is not just about me desiring something that is beyond my reach, or desiring something that I don't it's it is God.
Yes.
So how do you
there are many instances like that I have lived through. One of them, the most glaring one that you can see, is the well. Because when I stepped out to do the well, I do not know 5 women I could count on one finger who will step out by themselves to go and pioneer ministry that is not a women's ministry by themselves just because they heard God. I had no reference points. Everyone else that was doing really well, their ministries were started by their spouses. The other half of them that were doing well started women ministries. And here I was going to do this thing. And I had it definitely was bigger. But in the 7 years I've done this, the one thing that I can tell you for sure is that God pays His bills. So there is a place of saying yes and then trusting Him to show up and do what needs to be done. But even in this, the idea of godliness or contentment still plays through. So I'm not going to, I'm averse to, personally, I'm averse to debt. I'm averse. I don't like to owe. If I can help it, I won't owe anybody. So I wouldn't, because I want to prove a point that a woman built a cathedral, go and take a loan. I will not do that. But if God provides money for a cathedral, we will build it. And we will build a really good one. Do you understand that? So the idea is God can ask you to go and do big things. But your journey still is your journey. So you're not comparing with another person. The one who sent you to go and do these big things, go there and take your instructions from him every step of the way. And that's what I have done. Because, this learn contentment, because that's how you build wealth. That's where I learned it. Because in that season when I was learning, God put me on a track of sowing seed to a certain ministry. I won't mention names. That I wasn't even affiliated with. And that was the first time I ever sowed seeds in dollars. And God said, to prove to you that you are not in lack, I want you to do this every month for the next 12 months. And I knew that if I just let it say I would do it every month, I won't do it. So one day I did a standing order. So whether I want it or not, it will go. And then what I had to do is, you can do a standing order and do stay bounce. But I have an aversion to, as far as I'm concerned, a child of God's check should not bounce. I think it's a sin if you're a child of God for your check to bounce, because you have spoken and you have given your word. So it meant that I had to keep that account funded until those 12 months expired. It wasn't so much about the seed. Please pay attention to me. It was God proving to me that I had more than enough to spare. And yet what brought me to this learning was that I thought I didn't have enough to do the things that I needed to do. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So that journey, every step of the way, and then you will learn it at this level. Then after a while, you will pivot, and then you have to expand again and learn it at the next level. And then you will pivot again, you will expand again and learn. So I can't even say to you, I've mastered it. Because the volume that I see now, I still need to learn to be content in it. So case in point, there are seasons I need to travel. And I have to fly the back of the coach because it's what I can afford. That's what I fly. So there's nothing like, sis, borrow me 2 million there. I want to buy business class ticket.
At all.
There's no need. Because I have to fly coach because that's what is available in this time. There are other seasons that it's available. So you buy what you want to buy if you want the comfort. And you go where you want to go. The last trip I made, I could have upgraded, and I said to my friend, nah, the upgrade money is too much. I'm not upgrading. I get to the airport at the point of checking in. No, after I checked in, at the point of boarding, they said, oh, Mrs. Mark-Mordi, you have been upgraded. Give us your boarding pass. They upgraded me themselves. So at the end of the day, the point I'm making is God wants you to have good things. But you have to have those good things in a time where you can steward those good things.
So profound.
Do you see it? I don't know whether anyone of you knows that if you buy a BMW in Nigeria, it's something. If it's your first car, why are you buying a BM? Buy a Toyota. And I'm not even advertising for the brands. But that's because the after.
But what if I want a Tesla?
Elon Musk will talk. And PACN. The conversation will be long. Do you get it? So it's not that there's no BM in your future.
But
is it?
Wisdom.
Is it lawful right now for you? Is it expedient for you right now?
True.
So it's just practical for me that, and just learn it. And learn it. Learn that part of contentment is if your rent is going to fall due in September, rent is not an emergency. So it doesn't make sense that every cycle when your rent expires, someone has to help you. You have to sit down and plan so that your next rent, you are able to meet it. It is liberation when you understand that.
Beautiful. Wow. This is so good.
They say our time is up again.
Okay. So we'll have to.
I don't know why Bethel is making me say all that. I mean, do all the talking, but I guess that's because it's a Q&A. Yes. Thank you so much for being part of this episode so far. We'll be back soon with the concluding part of this series. I'm so excited that it's the concluding part of this series. Thank you. We've looked at contentment, and we're asking ourselves, what does it mean to be content? And how does contentment help you to build wealth? When we come back, I'm sure Bette has a couple more questions and we'll be done for the day. God bless you.
Are you seeking to clarify your purpose and profit from it? Then get into Purpose University this year. It's a 10-week e-course for people of faith who seek to clarify their purpose and profit from it. The DNA of purpose has been put together to help you understand what purpose is about and also help you discover what your journey of purpose looks like. Register today at yourpurposeu.org, where Bidemi Mark-Mordi would hold your hands so you can discover your purpose and live a more powerful life. In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life is just simple. Do not worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi Mark-Mordi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless and other books written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, like The Wisdom of the Seed, Honor, The Theology of Work, and so much more from a bookstore nearby, or call 080-905-63555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order. I guarantee you will make it. Nevertheless.
Welcome back to the Nevertheless Show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. My name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi, and I have in the studio with me Bethel Umba. And we've been looking at, in this episode, we've been looking at the case for contentment. What does it mean to be content? How does it play out in everyday life? Bethel, what did you learn in the previous session?
I learned how connected contentment and stewardship is, and how that God doesn't like waste. And a lot of times, if we've not dealt with that aspect of contentment, we can become wasteful, and God will not give us certain things if He knows that we haven't mastered, or we haven't properly used what He has given to us in the season. So in fact, what qualifies us, from what qualifies us for more, is that we have stewarded what God has given to us. True. That way He can give us even more. So that
one question that I keep getting asked when I talk about this is people ask me, won't this make someone lazy?
You spoke about that. You're not talking about being lazy. It's about being understanding. Where you know that in this season, this is what I know I can handle. This is what you talked about cutting your clothes not according to your size but according to your cloth.
Yes.
So you know that you are not being mediocre. You're not playing less. But this is what this is what you can accommodate in this season. You gave the illustration about your friend that had 3 cars. You were desiring 3 cars. that not understanding
Yes,
that
because they have preached to me. Yes. Desire endlessly every good deed. Yes. I was declaring endlessly every good deed.
But you didn't need it.
Can I say that
season? Exactly.
No.
You didn't need it for that season. Yes.
Yeah.
So being able to discern what you need versus, not playing, understanding the difference between this is what I need, this is what this season requires, this is what I can handle in this season, as against, mediocrity. It's not the same.
Yes,
it's not the same.
The most crystal clear example I can give of that is when we started Effectual magazine.
Okay.
I don't know if I showed you the when you came to my house.
Yes, I've seen
the first ever. No,
I've not seen
the
that.
first ever. I'll probably check in my decks whether I have it.
Yeah.
The first ever Effectual magazine.
Yes.
Effectual magazine, from the very day I conceptualized it, was what it is now.
Oh.
But when I started, I couldn't start at that level. I didn't have the funds. I didn't even have the technical know-how to produce it at that level.
Wow.
But I started.
Wow.
I started at a level that I could do it. And the more I did it, the more helpers came.
Yeah.
People who had the knowledge that I needed. People who had the resources to help me go through seasons in that came. And then one day I woke up and I had this international quality magazine in my hands.
Wow.
But the first ever Effectual, I hope I can find one to show you, was like a newsletter in church.
Wow.
But I always, even that time when it was newsletter format, I used to always tell people that this is going to end up as an international magazine. But I had to start somewhere. So someone who will see the newsletter format will say, oh, this is mediocre. It wasn't mediocre. It was me giving God something to work with.
Beautiful.
Do you understand that?
Beautiful.
We always say, Father, bless me, bless me, bless me. What have you presented for God to bless?
Wow.
Lord, increase me. God does not increase vacuums. So you come, you are empty, there's nothing. And you're praying, Father, increase me. No, that's not the way it works. You have to have earned 1,000 naira to ask to earn 1,000,000 naira, or to earn 100,000 before you come back to say, let me earn 1,000,000 naira. The thing is that because of the age that we are in, we're living life where people do not think that one step after the other works anymore. That precept upon precept, line upon line is no longer a good thing. And to make matters worse, churches are imbibing that and we are modeling it. And the pride of our testimonies is that I did not even, and then this happened, and we clapped. I have always known that 80% of those testimonies, if you poke and poke and poke, that's compromise somewhere.
True.
Do you understand that? So because we make these things seem glamorous, what is the regular order? That life is one step after another step.
It's becoming,
it's becoming now alien to us.
Yes.
That's why we are even learning contentment. That's why God had to spend 2 years teaching me contentment. Because it's not something I was supposed to be learning. It was something that I was just supposed to know and be. Do you see it?
Yes.
And every time we run ahead of God like that, when the slump happens, it's humpity-dumpity. We can't put it together anymore. But when you build and you start small, you can repair small. More than you can repair ground.
Wow.
Do you see?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So it's for me those.
Beautiful. This is such a necessary, such a needed, conversation. And so for someone who is at that place where they know that they've seen the picture, like you talked about the picture of the Effectual magazine that you saw when God spoke to you. And how many years has it been from that point, the first edition, the first published edition, to what it is now? How many years was it?
We started in 2004.
Okay.
No, 2003.
Okay.
So it took between 2003 and 2008.
Wow.
To get to where we were going.
Okay.
But we kept at it.
Okay. So for someone who is in that place where you don't, because you didn't think it was going to take that long to get to that place, what was it like? What was your state of mind? What was your what was it like for you? Because the story that comes to mind very quickly is Joseph. How that from the pit to the palace, and I'm sure he wasn't. If it was that he was counting the number of years, this dream that God showed me, is going to. If God had told him it was even going to take 15 years, he probably wouldn't have waited it through. But I just wanted to think. I just want you to speak into that process where the picture that you saw versus the reality that you're living right now. How you are able to navigate that.
I think that honestly,
what posture of heart.
Honestly, me,
yes,
in that time, I was too grateful that God would consider to use me.
Beautiful.
That it didn't look small to me.
Beautiful.
I know where I'm coming from.
Wow.
And I know that where I'm coming from, nobody's ever done anything as small as what I was doing was. Wow. Nobody's done small things like that before.
Wow.
So I was too grateful that God would consider to deploy me.
Wow.
That the size didn't matter to me.
Oh.
And thank God it wasn't in the days of social media.
So good.
So I had not a lot to compare it with.
Wow.
Do you see
Okay.
it? I didn't have a lot to compare it with.
Okay.
The one time that I went out and I saw a magazine was one time when I took a break in between. And I said to myself, oh, this is sapping my pocket, and I broke. Wow. And then one day I went somewhere and I was coming back in traffic. I saw a magazine. I wept from Bagada till I got to Festac. That was where I was living then. I wept because I looked at it and the ideas were similar, but just a little. And I was weeping because I said to myself, you were not faithful in what you were called. God is about to replace you. I had to go to God in repentance to say, Lord, give me another chance. I'm getting back on the saddle.
Wow.
And that process was when the international copy was born.
Wow.
Do you see it? Wow. So for me, it was that I was grateful that God would consider me. When people come to the well and they say all manner of things or they ask me questions, I'm too grateful that God will consider me this way. Who am I? And that's not putting myself down. This is me knowing that of 7 billion plus in the world, God chose me to do this. Wow. He could have used anybody else. Wow. So I'm too grateful and too in awe to complain about the size.
Wow.
In that season, something else that God taught me that I just remembered was, Bidemi, never lose your sense of awe.
Yes.
A lot of believers have become familiar with God.
Yes.
So the God, He gave you the Samsung Fold, or 2 years ago. Oh, Father, thank you for the Samsung Fold. And then this year there's a new Samsung Fold. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with this one, but you want the new Samsung Fold at all costs. Yes. And because it hasn't come, you forget that this was a dream come true. True. So we're benchmarking our lives by how often we can change the food rather than by the God who saw us and gave us a Samsung Fold that I promise you, in the 2 years I've owned it, I have not explored all its functionalities.
Wow.
Do you see it?
Yes.
We have to learn to be grateful. Wow. You cannot live in contentment unless you are grateful.
Wow. Beautiful. Let's talk about gratitude. And
what did we just grateful?
Yes.
We talked about grateful. This is now gratitude.
Yes, it's great. It's the same.
Okay.
So in talking about being grateful, we're talking about so we are going into gratitude, and you talked about how contentment and gratitude, walking through your seasons, understanding that gratitude would help you go through those seasons, properly. And so in talking about gratitude, what do you think? I'm speaking to across generations right now. Some young person is watching and saying, see, it's easy for you to say these things, ma, because you are in a season in your life where you have certain functionalities. There are things you can say, we are living in a different time. We're living in different, what it was like when you was in your 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's not the same reality right now. It's difficult to be grateful. what should we be grateful about? Somebody, I saw a post recently, and someone was saying Happy Independence Day. Say, what is happy about this Independence Day? And someone was saying that
if that person was dead already, then you would truly have no reason to be grateful.
So someone was saying,
or to be happy.
Yeah, someone was saying, like, this season, it's tough to be grateful. In this season,
not to sound insensitive. Yeah. The truth is that those 20, 30 years ago, things were hard for me too. It may not be your kind of hard, but they were hard for me. And that day, there were days I didn't think I'll make it to the next day. Do you see it?
Yes.
There were times I didn't think that God remembered my name, let alone knew my address. So I may not be going through what you were going through peculiarly now, but I've gone through my own fair share. Yeah. And I'm speaking with the benefit of doubt, the benefit of hindsight, to say to you that this too shall pass. I was telling someone or a group of people yesterday that there are two things that are my favorite in the Bible. The first one is that, and it came to pass. And it came to pass. It excites me because it means that there is water under that bridge, that we are here now.
True.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Now I don't remember the second one. But just think about it carefully.
Yeah.
And it came to pass.
Yeah.
And it came to pass.
Yeah.
So no matter what it is, a day is coming.
Yeah. A day is coming.
The second one is in that day. Or after these things. After these things. After these things. After these things meant that, our eye don't see something. But see where we are now. For me, those are hope builders. Every time I see anything like that in the Bible, I sigh because I know this person is being through, but they are still standing. That is my sign that I will keep standing. So even though I cannot speak peculiarly to what you go through right now, see me as a sign that you will be standing.
Yes.
There is nothing here that will take your life unless you choose to.
Yes.
There is nothing here that cannot be surmounted unless you choose not to.
Yeah.
Just take it one step at a time. I'm not saying call up and die. I'm not saying give up. I'm saying just do the bit that you can do and remain faithful.
Yeah.
And when the time comes, the Bible says when the Lord turned around the captivity of Zion, they were like them that dreamt. Well, that means that they were touching each other and pinch me. Am I awake or am I sleeping?
Yes.
Because even they could not believe what their life had become.
Yeah.
To a large extent, I cannot believe what my life has become today.
Beautiful.
And in another 10 years, I will say the exact same thing. If Jesus tarries, I can't believe what my life is today.
Wow.
And you too, in 10 years, in 5 years, maybe not even that long, you'll be able to say, I can't believe what my life is now. There's nobody that doesn't have a story.
Yeah.
What you choose to do when it is not together is totally your call.
Yes.
Nobody can help you through that.
Yeah.
But if you make the right choice to be content, to be grateful, there's a lot to be thankful for.
Yes.
Because I complained that I didn't have money because I was alive. If I were dead, I've never seen a dead body saying Nepa no de Nigeria. Dead men don't tell tales.
Wow.
That's what they say.
Wow. So good. So good.
The only reason why we are complaining and we have tales to tell is because we are alive.
So good.
And it is exactly because we are alive that we have hope.
Oh, yes. Wow. There's nothing more to say on this side.
Nothing else to say on that side.
So good. So good. So good. But maybe just a bit, just if you're able to touch on it, what are some practices, some things you do intentionally? To, in the aspect of that keeps you in that place where you are continually content? Maybe some things you've talked about,
Checking
some
my
scriptures.
motive.
Yes. So what are some things you do practically that just helps you stay? Is it your kind of relationships? Is it some things you do daily?
And
Is it
number one
yeah.
is to have this kind of authentic,
Okay.
frank relationships
Okay.
where there are no L's, there are no L's, and there are no filters.
Okay.
So I consistently have them.
Okay.
I consistently am very quick to thank God.
Okay.
Sometimes when I'm home alone, once in a while,
Yes.
I go and stand in front of my shoe rack.
Wow.
And I remember.
There was a time.
I don't stand there to say, hey, see all my shoes.
Wow.
I stand there to remember that there was a time I had only 2 pairs of shoes.
Wow.
And look at this now.
Wow.
Something else I like to do is to be able to give to people.
Wow.
Because in that way, I'm reminded that day something would have made a difference if someone would give to me. And indeed, people gave to me.
Wow.
Because in that season, that thing broke when I had only 3 dresses. That thing broke. One day, one of my aunties in church came and she said, Bidemi, come, I want to take you somewhere.
Wow.
And she took me to her house. She ran a dressmaking business. And she took me to her house. She was doing ready to wear those many days. And she had this many things there. And she said, just try them on. Anyone that fits you, take it.
Wow.
So when I sit down and I think about those days, and I remember how the Lord, the Bible says, count your blessings.
Yes.
Is it the Bible or the song?
Yes.
The song says, count your blessings, name them one by one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why gratitude is an extension.
Yes.
So you need to deliberately do things.
Yes.
Deliberately do things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I open my wardrobe and I say to myself, give out things you have never worn before, not just the ones you have worn. And that's just for me to be able to say to myself, God has been kind to me.
Yes.
And I and my husband, there's not 1 week we don't have a gratitude conversation.
Wow.
When we will just remind ourselves where we're coming from.
Beautiful.
And then with our children, when they're around, we'll tell them that we did not see this.
Yes.
On July the 5th, 1997, when we got married, we could not see our lives like this.
Wow. Wow.
Some people will say that's their plan. This was their 5-year plan. We were too hungry to make a 1-year plan. I'm not joking.
Wow.
We were too hungry.
Wow.
That we did not have the energy to make a 1-year plan.
Wow.
So I can't sit here honestly and say, it was my 5-year plan. And then I worked the plan. Nibu, I had no plan. I was trying to survive.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Some days when I get in this mood, I mention names of people who fed us in that time.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm still in contact with all of them. Because that's how I remind myself, you did not make yourself.
Yes.
God made you.
Wow, beautiful.
So for me, that's what it is.
Thank you.
And by the grace and mercy of God, nobody remains where they are if they walk with God. God has the capacity to move us. Our thing is to choose to walk with Him.
That's a good place to end.
Right? We've come to the end of the series this month. We looked at harnessing relationships for success. We looked at working our seasons. We looked at rest. And we have looked at contentment. These are pillars that anyone who knows who they are in God should pay attention to. I'd like to hear your feedback. Please send us a message, send me an inbox, whatever you need to do, and remember to follow me on all the social media platforms. These are not the only conversations that I have. There are many other conversations daily. I'm putting something out that is a blessing to you. Please join me on all the other fronts. And if Jesus tarries, next month we'll be here. And we'll probably be talking all things. I don't know all things what, but we will be here if Jesus tarries. Thank you so much, Bethel, for spending
this for having
month,
me.
With me and just
I enjoy myself
with these things. And I pray that you would have many testimonies to tell, because I know that you're on a journey as well.
Yes.
And one day you'll be the one telling these stories, and I'll be in the audience and I'm nodding my head and I'm saying, yes, I was there because I saw this day, and now I can see this day. Thank you. God bless you. And remember that if you discover your purpose, you live a powerful life. This is the Nevertheless Show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. And my name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. See you next time, if Jesus tarries. God bless you, and bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 080-90563-555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com. Don't forget, discovering your purpose helps you live more powerfully.